Okay, when did I fall in love with myself? I would say probably in my early 30s after a failed relationship. I think that that was a quintessential moment for me when I realized that I was more than the promises made by other people. I could embrace what I was taught and remember that I'm enough all by myself, which is not to suggest that I don't need other people. It was an acknowledgement that I was made whole and that I needed to contribute to my own destiny and not depend on others. So I think that for me was a turning point, realizing that I had been deceived by someone who said they would never hurt me. And I realized that I needed to make a decision about what I would do to guard my own heart. And that was a pivotal moment for me. Okay, what does happiness mean to me? I think as I've grown older, over time, I realize happiness means that I am content with the life that I have, aspire to a life that's even greater, but being patient during the journey. I was raised in a Christian home, so I have ascribed to Christian values. I would like to say I came from a time of maybe not being as much of a practicing Christian as I know that I am today. And happiness for me is not based on what's happening outside of myself. I'd like to think that it's based on how I'm nurturing who I am inside. And as a result, less influenced by that which is around me, but more of dependent on what I'm building inside of me. So that's my answer. So as a black woman, coming from a small town of less than, I think it was 12,000 when I was growing up in Southeast Virginia, in an environment that was very polarized, blacks on one side of town and whites on the other. As a black woman in my early 20s, when I returned to my hometown, having been at UVA as a student, I had to address the fact that I was in the minority. I had to acknowledge that the city in which I lived had its own rural principles and foundation, and it took a while to become comfortable in my own skin in an environment that sometimes didn't recognize me or in which I felt invisible. As a result, I think I retreated and made a point of staying among those people who were more like me. At the same time, trying to take some risk every now and then to interact with others who could relate to my story. So whether it was being more involved in church or more involved in social groups, a club that I was a part of, I was part of the origination of an organization called Unity. It was United for the Need of Involving Today's Youth. I'll never forget that. And it took me out of my shell of being concerned about who I was apart from the majority, and making me take some time to invest in people who needed my help. It has been, having worked at the University of Virginia for over 30 years, and in a world that was full of the majority race, it took some time for me to feel comfortable being a competent professional in a sea of white men who sometimes questioned my competency, but I think that which was meant to make me weak made me stronger. So as far as my mental health evolution, if you will, I think I went from a place of wondering, was I enough, to knowing today that I am. Honoring myself today and every day, to remember that I was made with purpose, that I am more than what I do, I am more than what other people think of me, that the master plan from a master designer has created a path for me, and it's a journey that I depend on the scripture reference in Jeremiah 29:11 that says that that the Lord himself has a plan for me, and it's to prosper me and not to harm me, and it gives me hope in a future. So my honoring myself and other women hopefully would be to make sure that the language that I use is positive about myself and others, that I make a point of not tearing down other people just because they have not reached the end of their journey, just as I have not, to be reminded that all people have worth, and I'm worthy of being here, and I'm worthy of fulfilling the plan.